So, good afternoon, all of you. We'll start with already participants are joined and others are also still joining one by one. Anyway, so we'll start with it. So, this is the first subject. Uh, basically, that's the subject which has been changed, and this is the first subject in your syllabus. So, we'll go ahead today. What exactly the syllabus consists of, and accordingly, we'll move. So DRPCS, the long form of DRPCS, that is the design of reinforced and prestressed concrete structure. So basically, earlier syllabus or the earlier subject name was RCC2, reinforced cement concrete, and that was the second part. But here, that syllabus has been changed somewhat. The code of this subject, that is 5C01. And in this subject, earlier we used to have working stress method, and there was a problem related to the water tank, but that has been removed now. So the only change was that, and well, that was another change. This unit number 6, yes, prestressed concrete is also added. So earlier it was not, prestressed concrete was not there, and in this subject, you totally need to learn LSM, that is the limit state method, as well as the prestressed concrete. So we'll move ahead. What exactly, why you want to learn, or why should you learn this subject? What are the different objectives of it? So the first objective is to understand basic concept of limit state method. So, well, there are many types of method available. Uh, Now this method is related to the design part. We are not talking about the analysis part. You're already done with the analysis in TOS subject in the last semester, and the other part is also available in the upcoming semesters. That is the TOS 2 will be available in that case. So out of the designing method, there are different designing method, working stress method, limit state method, ultimate method. So we'll definitely word with that. So out of that, the limit state method will be used in our subject. And this particularly limit state method, what are the different concepts of it? And whether is there any IS code related to this limit state method? If limit state method have the IS code, and in that case, what are the different criteria of it? How should we design? We have to design it according to the IS code itself, according to the clauses of IS code. So basically, if we just talk about the, uh, especially for concrete structures. So for concrete structures, yes, we do have the IS 456. So, well, some of you might have gone through the code if you're if you're from, say, uh, if you learned it in your polytechnic. Yes, so definitely you might have gone through it. So IS 456 would be for this, basically concrete structures. Apart from that, you will need to again go ahead for the prestressing. So for the prestressing, there is another IS code. There is IS 1343. So these are the two IS code most of the time will be going. What are the different criteria, the clauses, specification of it. And according to those clauses, we have to analyze, or rather, we'll have to design certain things, and we have to check whether according to IS code, whatever the things or whatever the values we got, are they or they are properly in the check or not. So that was the first concept. So apart from that, the second was the thing. There is a You have to again understand the behavior of slab under external loading. Well, so what are the different kinds of loading you might have gone through in your SOM, strength of material? Also, you might have gone through your theory of structure, that is TOS. So the different external loading. So point load, there can be point load, there can be uniformly distributed load, or UDL, there can be uniformly varying load. And according to those loadings, you have to check, or the loading coming out, that any frame structure basically consists of the loading transfer from slab to the beam, from beam to the column, and then from column ultimately to the footing, and then footing, yes, of course, to the soil. That's how most of the time these forces and all those things just get transferred. So if we just talk about the behavior of slab, so how does that particular slab behave under external loading? So that we'll have to go ahead with. Then we do have this staircase as well as retaining wall. Well, retaining wall is a different part. Staircase is also a different part. When you staircase, as you know, that from one story to another story, if you want to travel, or if you want to go from one story to another story, so vertically you want to go, in that case the staircase is used. Apart from that, there are other things also. You can go with the lift, you can go with the escalator, but basically if you just talk about the staircase, so well, there are many types of staircase as well. There are different types of retaining wall as well. So uh, accordingly, what kind of staircase type is there, or what kind of retaining wall type is there, and accordingly you'll have to go ahead with the different behavior pattern. Then same case with the column and footing. Yes, as you know that from the slab the load get transferred, or the forces and moment get transferred to the beam, and from beam to the column, from column to the footing. So how that particular reinforcement, or how should we arrive at the size of column, or whether that column is of rectangular type, or whether that is of the circular type. Again, footing, yes, footing will have the different types of it. We can go ahead with the isolated, we can go with the raft, we can again go with the pile foundation. So likewise, this footing, or the foundation type, or the column type, you need to just design, you need to go ahead with the reinforcement. The final thing is to calculate the reinforcement and size of it, size or dimension of it. So that's how this particular column and footing is like. Then again, the concept of grid slab. There's a part of the slab, grid slab, and just like that, you'll have to how to design that, how to calculate the different parameters of it. And then there's a part related to earthquake resistant construction. So yes, as I said, for RCC, you have to go ahead with the IS 456, that is the IS code. For processing, you have to go ahead with the IS 1343. But if you just talk about earthquake, okay, so just a minute. Well, so for earthquake resistant construction, yes, there's IS 1893 and 13920. So IS 1893, you will have certain design criteria related to the earthquake, while if you just talk about 13920, then in that case, we'll have to go ahead with the different ductility part as well. So next part is the prestressed concrete. So yes, concrete, yes, it's a different one. Prestressed concrete, yes, it's at all. Again, it's a different part. If we just talk about the concrete and know that the concrete does have the reinforcement in terms of steel reinforcement. You might have gone through it. If you have just go through any kind of the construction site going nearby to your house, so you will be able to see that yes, there are the different reinforcement that can be of a different diameter that usually put in the concrete construction. But when you talk about the prestressed concrete, so prestressed concrete, it's the name itself suggests what you are going to do. You are going to, there is a concrete part, and you are going to first of all giving it stress. Okay, as you know that the concrete is basically that is good in compression while weaker in tension. Since it's weak in tension, we usually go ahead for the different material which will strengthen the that particularly tensile part. And since we strengthen it, so in that case, we can use reinforcement, steel reinforcement, or certain processing cables or processing tendons likewise. So processing is certain thing wherein you are going to first of all going to give the stress to the concrete so that whatever the things or whatever the deterioration going to that may take place in the future, so we can just avoid it. So that's how these are the certain objectives that these are the things or you are going to learn. Now, if you talk about the course outcome, if you just when you learn the subject, so what should at the end of the subject, what you should learn or what you will be learning. So basically, the first one is the analysis and design of rectangular section. A rectangular section, or rather, we'll say it's a beam part. So beams are there. So how to design that? How to design a slab? Here, analysis part, it means that how to calculate shear force and bending moment. Shear force and bending moment from the whatever the loading is given. Then how to design staircase and retaining wall as well. Again, whatever the terminologies are there here. So you will have to design those things, column and footing, then grid slab, and you should know what is the ductile detailing. So suppose a particular part is in seismic prone area. In that case, there are certain ductile criteria. Ductile criteria, it means that any kind of structure, when the earthquake is going to be there, so if earthquake occurs, in that case, the building should not collapse suddenly. We basically do not want that building should get collapsed, but building should not collapse suddenly. So there has to be certain reinforcement criteria. If you just follow that, in that case, that building will not collapse easily, or that will have certain deformation, that may not get collapsed totally. So this total part is consists of the ductility. This is called as a ductility. And then general behavior of distressed concrete section under external load. So that is also the thing is you have to go ahead with. So We'll now move it with the syllabus part in the section A in unit number 1, what you have to learn. So first part is there, introduction to limit set method. So we'll be going through the introductory part of limit set method. Then how to design singly and doubly reinforced beam. Rectangular section basically. Also plain section. So beam, yes, beam will have the different parts. So if we just talk about this is nothing but the rectangular beam, okay? But sometimes, say at the corner location, this beam may behave. Suppose this is a slab, so and this is the beam here. So combined effect of that particular beam and slab, okay? So that will have certain kind of T section. This is also called as a plane section. Or sometimes it may have, so this is the slab, okay? At the end, sometimes at the end you may find like this. So that's how this particularly, this is called as a T beam. This is called as L beam. So that is nothing but the plane section. This is L is the plane section, T is the plane section, while this is nothing but the rectangular. So if we just talk about this rectangular section, yes, rectangular section are this one. Now, if we talk about the plane section, how to design the plane section, so this comes under the plane section. Plane section, it's not basically certain part, but the thing is, it is the combined effect of slab. This is a slab, okay, and there's a beam here. Now, if you make the combined effect of it, so that's the combined effect will be considered as the plane section. Then similarly, the next part or in the unit number 2, you will have to design one-way continuous beam as well as two-way slab. So basically, the first part, this part is of beam, okay? This is of the beam, and the next unit, it is of the slab. So you can see, the first of all, we are going to go with the beam. This is the first part about the types of it. There's the plane section as well as the rectangular section. Now, when we talk about the slab, slab will also have the two parts. There is the one way and then two way. One way and two way, there is a certain criteria of it. So we will see how to design one way slab and how to design the two way slab. And then in unit number 3, you have this staircase. And basically, as I said, there are different types of staircase. But for this staircase, you have to go with this dog-legged staircase only. So this is the only staircase type you have to design. Though there are different types of staircase, but in this particular subject and this unit number 3, that's the only thing you will have to design. And that do not mean that the other things should not design by yourself. You can just go ahead with the other sections as well. And then design of cantilever retaining wall. So we know that retaining wall. So this particular thing that suppose um, when we say there's the retaining wall, so retaining wall is something like this, okay, and like this you will have the retaining wall, and then there has to be certain section, okay. This particularly, this may have the soil, okay, or sometimes here may have certain soil as well. And well, Retaining wall also have the different types: cantilever retaining wall, counterfort retaining wall, and out of that we are going to learn only this cantilever retaining wall. So that's how this cantilever retaining wall, how to design that. So this is something called as a wall of this cantilever retaining wall, or and then this one part, which is basically altogether will have the soil pressure coming from this will be acting like this soil pressure, and suppose the soil is also here, so in that case this will also act like this. So if you are learning fourth semester geotechnical engineering, so you will be able to understand the concept related to it. So basically horizontal backfill only, this part we will be covering while designing. Then there's a section B. In section B, in unit number 4, you have this column, okay? And in that column, whether the load is acting actually or uniaxially or sometimes biaxial bending kind of thing. So if you just talk about, say in plan, uh, if you just say this is a plan here, okay, as you know that the columns are going to attach to the, beams are going to attach to the column. So if suppose this is the center line of it, this is center line of it, and in that case, at this particularly position, all the beams are going to be placed. In that case, you can say this axial loading will be there. But sometimes it may happen that if this is a beam, uh, sorry, if suppose this is a column here in the plan, and now due to certain reasons, this beam is going to be placed like this. Okay, it is not at the center in one part. It is going to be have the eccentricity. So this kind of eccentricity is nothing but will create certain bending, and that is called as uniaxial bending. So either in this axis, so this is the x and this is the y. So in the x axis or in the y axis, this will have the bending. Sometimes it may happen that suppose this is a column and this is the center line. And now in that case, the beam is going to be placed like this, like this. So you have this eccentricity in this axis as well. This is eccentricity 1. Also, you will have this eccentricity at this axis as well. So this is eccentricity 2. And that's the reason it is called as a biaxial bending. So that's the term, uniaxial bending and then biaxial bending. And then axial load. Suppose at the center itself, that particularly beams are going to be placed and you'll have that loading directly transferring. In that case, yes, this can happen. So eccentricity, according to that eccentricity of the beam, this particular uniaxial behavior or biaxial bending behavior will be there. Then the next part is the isolated footing. As you know that the footings are also having the different types. You have this isolated, you have combined, you have rough, you have mat, or even if you have the pile foundation, or basically you can say the shallow or deep foundation. And out of that, you are going to just consider only isolated one. Now in isolated, there is again two types. There are two types, like square as well as rectangular. So square footing as well as rectangular footing, again axial loading pattern as well as uniaxial bending moment only. So as I said, uniaxial, how that particular uniaxial bending may occur because of certain eccentricity, this particular uniaxial bending get occur. Now, the thing is only square and rectangular isolated footing is to be designed in our case. Then we do have the grid slab. So grid slab by IS code method, you have to design it. Basically, as I said, slab, those slab uh, loading, according to loading, will have either one way or two way. But the slab also have the different types as well, according to their structure. Okay, so grid slab basically will have, say, basically, if you do not want the major columns in it, major beams in it, and you want to even avoid the columns, frequent columns, and only for some columns you have to go ahead with this, or just like the hall, or just like the bigger hall, or say certain structure where the restrictions are there, you cannot give the more columns, or at the perfect interval you cannot give. You do not want, because of certain aesthetic point of view or certain architecture point of view. In that case, you can go ahead with this kind of grid slab. That's the reason it has been placed. Then, earthquake resistant construction. Introduction, cyclic behavior of concrete and reinforcement, significance of ductility, ductile detailing of beam column joint and footing. So we're not going to consider how that particular earthquake behavior is there, why earthquake occurs or likewise. So that has been already how the different subjects related to the earthquake, how that occurs and all those things. So, but because of earthquake and because of those behavior, our structure, how should our structure should have the reinforcement criteria according to the IS code, especially for beam, column, and beam column joint. This beam column joint is very important one. Most of the time, if suppose the joint gets failed, then definitely that particular structure may get collapsed. So beam column joint is definitely major significance. And then ductile detailing, as I said, ductile detailing, as it means that you do not want your structure to, first of all, you do not want your structure to get collapsed. That's the first part. But due to earthquake, even if your structure is going to get collapsed, but it should not collapse suddenly. So to prevent those things, okay, to prevent those things, we used to go with the ductility. So uh, you might know that suppose if you are going to eat pizza, in that case, there is certain that because of that particular structure of that pizza, what happened that there is a cheese is there. Because of that cheese, that fully crunchiness is not there. If you go ahead with the some other crunchy kind of material, say if you are going to eat certain other things, those were crunchy. But pizza is not a crunchy. Pizza, it's certain thing that it don't get cracked fully. Likewise, our structure should not get collapsed very easily. Okay, it should give certain sign. It should give certain sign, or even it should be limited to only certain deformation and not fully collapse. So that kind of thing is nothing but the ductile detailing part, which is very important one whenever You want to go ahead for the earthquake resistant structure. And then we have the unit number 6. Unit number 6, you have the prestressed concrete. As I said, prestressed concrete is a thing. Basically, it's a part of the concrete itself, but the behavior is totally different. Though it's a concrete, but the normal reinforced cement concrete and this prestressed concrete, yes, both the behavior is fully different. So the material required, their characteristics, types of prestressing, methods for it, and various types of prestressing, losses of prestressing. Why do we say the losses? Suppose you know that uh, any kind of structure, or if you are going to give the giving the pre-stress, pre-stressing. So you are going to give the stress to it. You know that yes, after a certain period of time, that structure may have the stresses, but you are going to give the stresses. You are going to the you are already thinking that yes, after so many years, this may have certain stresses, but what we'll do, we'll already give the stresses to that particular structure so that that is called as a pre-stress. And what should be the behavior of that pre-stress structure? And analysis of this rectangular and flange beam in it. Okay, we'll see the introduction to pre-stress concrete and this analysis of this rectangular and flange beam according to the pre-stress concrete. We have seen this RCC, we will see it in RCC as well as we will see it in the pre-stress. That's all. RCC as well as pre-stress. So these are the IS code, IS code 56, IS 1343. This is for the pre-stressing. This is for RCC. Okay, this is for the pre-stressing. Then IS 1893 and 13920. This is for earthquake. This is for the earthquake. Field visit on any RCC frame structure and report of the same. We'll see if it is feasible. In case offline classes are going to get constructed, if you have that, then yes, we'll go ahead for the construction side also. Then you have this 3D slides, transparency of photographs of actual structures. Yes, that actual structures photograph, yes, you can easily share. Even you can do one thing, you can even start looking for certain nearby structures to it, get photographs of it. Just get selfie with that any beam or column, how that particular beam is it, whether that is of the plain section of or it is a rectangular section, whether the slab uh, is of the one way or two way, or the column, how many beam, how many uh, uh, reinforcement bars are there in the columns as well, how that particular cantilever beam is going to be constructed. So that kind of thing you can have the photographs. You can even word on your own. So that would be very easy for you to understand while doing the actual or theoretical part. What are the books recommended? Yes, if you are interested in books, yes, this is the Ashok Jain, S.K. Sinha, Devdas Menon, Shah and Survey. Yes, all the things are very good books. So you can go ahead with that books if you want to even go for certain other structures as well, how that particular design is going to be there, apart from all those syllabus is covered. Apart from that, you want to learn, yes, you can go ahead with this book. So that's the syllabus. We'll go ahead with the unit number 1 in the next lecture. So thank you. We will stop here. So those who have type their name in the chat box, they can leave the meeting. If you are not done so, you can just type your name and roll number in the chat box, and then you can leave the meeting. Thank you. Type your name, pass,